Hey guys, so we're going to do the next set of notes, also on order of operations, but we're going to add in exponents and integers this time. So remember that order of operations, also known as PEMDAS, can be recalled or remembered by using the acronym PEMDAS. Okay, and then this is what each of them stand for, the steps that are listed out here. So step 1, P stands for parentheses, and that's what you're going to do first. Step 2, E stands for exponents, and that's what you're going to do next. Step 3 stands for MD, which is multiply or divide. And remember, for those, you're always working left to right. And the last step, step 4, is add or subtract, and that stands for AS in PEMDAS. And again, remember, you're working left to right. So now we're adding in integers and we're adding in exponents. So let's look at a couple of these examples. So in this first example, following PEMDAS, there are no parentheses, but there is exponents. So in this one, I have the exponent 3 squared. So I'm going to solve that first. So I'm just going to write down the rest of my problem. 9 plus 8 times, and 3 squared is 9. And then remember that the dot also represents multiplication. So whenever you see a dot in between two of the numbers, that means multiplying, okay? Because last time we used the x instead. So 3 squared is 9. So next, according to PEMDAS, I'm going to multiply or divide, or solve any of the multiplying or dividing pieces, which in this case, there is a multiplying piece, and that's 8 times 9. So 8 times 9 is 72. So then my last step then is to just add what we have there. So we have 9 plus 72 as the last step here, and 9 plus 72 is 81. So our final answer for that one is 81 using order of operations. In the next one, order of operations, there are no sets of parentheses, so we don't have to worry about that, but there is exponents. So we're going to do the exponent first. 2 to the third power, remember means 2 times 2 times 2. So we have 24 plus 8, and if you do that out, we're going to divide by 8. 2 to the third power is 8. Next step is to multiply or divide. So we only have one division there. We're going to do that part next. 8 divided by 8 is 1. So we have 24 plus 1 as our final step, and 24 plus 1 more, easy enough, is 25. So our final answer here is 25. Now these are the you try ones. So if you try these couple problems on your own, or you can listen to the rest of the video and I'll show you how to do it. So in this one we have, if we're following PEMDAS again, we have no parentheses, but we do have an exponent. So we're going to do that first. Remember, that's the same thing as 5 times 5 times 5. So I have 2 plus 3, dot means times, and 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. Next step is multiplication or division, and there is a multiplication here. So you're going to do 3 times 125, which is 375. So we have 2 plus 375. And then the last step is adding and subtracting. So 2 plus 375 is 377 as a final answer there. Again, in the next one, there are no sets of parentheses, but there is exponents, so we're going to do that part first. 4 to the second power, also known as 4 squared. So you have 16 plus 64 divided by 16. 4 times 4 is 16. Then we look at the multiplication or division pieces, and there's only one of those. 64 divided by 16 is 4. So we're going to write 16 plus 4, and then the last step is just your adding, and 16 plus 4 is 20. So our final answer there is 20. On the next set of notes, we are going to practice order of operations with integers. So it's important that we first go over these integer rules that are listed on this page and what this chart actually represents, okay? So the signs on the side represent adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So when you are subtracting integers, and integers being, what are integers? Integers are not just the numbers 1, 2, 3, but integers are also -1, -2, -3. They include the negative numbers, okay? So when we're working with integers and we're subtracting them, Then we are going to add the opposite, like it says, and follow addition rules. So we're going to add the opposite and follow addition rules. But when we are doing working with integers and we are adding those integers, if they have the same sign, we add and keep the sign. So if they're both pluses, or if they're both negative signs, then you're going to add them and keep the sign, okay? Also known as positives. And then if they're different signs, so different signs here, so as in if you have a negative and a positive sign with your two integers, then you're going to subtract the two and keep the sign of the bigger number or the higher absolute value. So I like to say the bigger number. I think that will make it easier for you. Okay? And then the last set of integer rules is multiplying and dividing. And when you're multiplying and dividing and they have the same sign, then you're going to get a positive answer. If they have different signs, you're going to get a negative answer. And one way I like to remember this is by drawing this on my page. It's just like a little circle, and you've got a minus, and a plus. And basically what you do is if you cover your finger on that, if you cover up the two signs of the two numbers that you are multiplying or dividing, then you will get the answer of what the sign should be for your answer. So for example, if you cover up the two negatives, a negative times a negative is a positive because that's what's left over. And if you cover up the negative and the positive, then a negative times a positive number is a negative number. And that's just another way that you can use to remember when you're multiplying and dividing fractions. Or sorry, when you're multiplying and dividing integers. So if we look at the examples, let's try to apply these rules as we're going to the examples. So again, we're following PEMDAS still. So PEMDAS says parentheses first, but there's nothing to do inside of the parentheses in this first one, so we don't do anything there. Then it says exponents, but there are no exponents. And then it says multiplying or dividing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the multiplying and dividing piece right here. Okay? So when I divide, because I know I'm going to do that first, okay, I have to remember the integer rules. So I'm still going to write down what we have. We still have -8 minus. And then I'm going to do 16 divided by -4. Okay, so 16 is positive and 4 is negative. So I know a positive divided by a negative gets a negative result. So I'm going to use parentheses for my answer, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. And then from here, when I have a double negative or when I'm subtracting a negative, that becomes a positive. So you're going to add. And now what I have is -8 plus 4. And according to integer rules, they're opposite signs. So when they're opposite signs, you subtract. 8 minus 4 is 4, and you keep the sign of the bigger number, which 8 is bigger and it's negative. So my final answer is -4. Let's try it with the next one. So according to PEMDAS, we do parentheses, exponents, neither of those, but there is division. So we're going to do that next, or do that first. So -12 divided by 3. Again, a negative divided by a positive is a negative answer. So if I write down -9 minus, I'm going to have a negative answer, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. The double negative becomes a positive here. So we rewrite this as -9 plus 4. And again, they are opposite signs. So opposite signs you subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So 9 minus 4 is 5, and the sign of the bigger number is 9. So it is -5 as an answer. Okay? All right, let's try it with the next one. In the next one, there are no parentheses, there are no exponents, but there is division again. So we are going to do -16 divided by 4 first. So if I write down the rest of my problem, I still have -12 minus. And it's a negative divided by a positive again, so that's a negative answer, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. The double negative becomes a plus, so it's -12 plus 4, and again, opposite sides, subtract. 12 minus 4 is 8, and keep the sign of the bigger number. 12 is bigger, so your answer is -8. And in the last example, you have division again. So we have here 15 divided by -5. I'm going to rewrite my problem still. Negative 10 minus 15 divided by negative 5 is a positive divided by a negative, so your answer is again going to be a negative. 15 divided by 5 is 3. The double negatives become a positive, so we rewrite this as negative 10 plus 3. And same opposite signs, subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. 10 minus 3 is 7. 10 is the bigger number and it has a negative sign, so my answer is negative 7. So they all just happen to be negative answers here in the example, but they won't be like that all the time. So be careful. You're not always going to get a negative answer. All right, try this practice out on Alex, and as always, let me know if you have any questions. All right, good luck.